I deeply believe that now is the moment, that now is the time. The earth is changing, as are humans, as are all the beings of the planet. And it's our responsibility to create something new. We've all come here with a divine purpose, traveling on a stream of cosmic dust from the stars into our mother's wombs, born into this precious life. It is no accident that you are here, my love, on earth, in this moment, in this body. You are here longing to find your place, to align with your purpose, to embody your passions and to live into the dreams of your heart. Yet so often we get caught, suspended in the tangle of life, not able to move forward, not able to find solace and comfort in a world that has forgotten the truth of our existence. As we begin to remember, as we peel back the layers, as we come together to uncover our unique gifts and reconnect with our authentic selves, we are able to see another way of being, a new possibility, a different life waiting to be lived. I have experienced on this complicated and wild journey of life that when we connect with the story of our soul, it will show us the magic of this life that we have been missing. It will open a window into the very heart of who we truly are, of who we came here to be, and gives us answers to our ever-asking why. Hello, my beautiful souls, courageous souls on this journey. So as I am dropping in today and recording this episode, I am holding space in my heart for a sadness. And this sadness is the inspiration for this episode today. And there's an incredible woman that I have worked with in the past. She was a mentor, a coach, a teacher, an inspiration. And I worked with her for 2 years, and she changed my life in so many beautiful ways. And I have so much love in my heart for her. And recently, in mid-December, her ex-husband that she was still close to and is the father of her children committed suicide. And when I heard the news yesterday, it touched me deep in my soul. And as I moved through the day, I just kept lingering in the space, that in-between space of life and death, and the contemplation, right, of what gives life, what makes us tick, what allows for life to move through us. And then those places when life gets stuck and we end up in places where choices become dark. And now this episode is not going to dive into that darkness, right? I just wanted to share with you where I'm coming from as I remind you how important it is to prioritize our mental health. And we are in the midst of a mental health crisis, not just in our country, but in our world. We see it everywhere. And I imagine that most of you, if not all of you that are listening, know somebody who is struggling with mental health to varying degrees, right? And we are in times where our mental health, the way we are with ourselves, right, in all of our moments, is non-negotiable. The outside noise of the world is so incredibly loud. There is so much happening that if we pretend that our mental health is not important, if we negate it, if we say later, I'll do it later, well, later's going to look a whole lot different, right? I deeply believe that now is the moment, that now is the time. The earth is changing, as are humans, as are all the beings of the planet. And it's our responsibility to create something new, to use these times to have the greatest soul growth, not just for ourselves, but for humanity. And so I'll share a story that when I first got curious about this journey, when I began to realize that I could not continue living the way that I was, right? Inside my addictions, inside the prison that essentially was the inside of me. The outside of me was doing somewhat okay, right? Had lots of friends. I had a job. I had, I lived on my own. I did a lot of things, right? And yet inside, I was slowly dying, little by little. And someone handed me a business card of a therapist. And at the time, I believed I was even too damaged for a therapist. They wouldn't want to work with me. There was just too much wrong with me that they wouldn't want to waste their time on me. So, this is the depth of despair that I was inside of, while still living a life on the outside that people couldn't see this inside part of me, yet there she was, desperately wanting help, and yet not even feeling good enough to get help. And so I tucked that business card away in my wallet, and there it sat for 1 full year. And I forgot about it. It was kind of in a back little pocket, and I forgot. Part of me forgot, let's say. Part of me always remembered. But the more conscious part of me didn't. And then one day I still remember where I was. I was at my girlfriend's house, and I was leaving, and I think I was in a particularly moody place, as I used to call it, because that's what I had been called when I was growing up, moody. Nobody knew that there were real reasons for things, right? You were just being moody. Stop being moody. Why are you so moody? Oh my goodness. And it's well, I didn't know how to stop because I didn't know what even was happening. So I'm walking out of her sliding glass door, and for some reason, somebody asked me for money. Maybe somebody was going somewhere to get something, and I was getting some cash out of my wallet. And somehow I ended up in that back pocket of the purse, and out came this card. And I was like, oh yeah, that guy. I really should call that guy. And you know what? I actually did. I went home and I called, and I set up an appointment, and I began to change my life. And I saw him every other week for over a year. And I slowly began to see something different. And then ever since then, I have never stopped exploring my internal landscape. I have had so many therapists, coach, teachers, mentors, shamans, all the things, you name it, because to me, it's why we're here. We are here to explore the human journey. Otherwise, why the heck are we here in these times that are so hard? In these situations that we're constantly trying to find happiness, and yet what we find is unfulfillment. We find one more thing that is keeping us from what we know, from the joy that we know we can experience, from the fun that we know we can have. I don't experience that we can have happiness if we are not willing to look at why we are unhappy, right? We can't just wish all that away. We actually have to take out some tools and do something with it. And this is why we're here. This is why our soul chose to incarnate into this incredibly divine vessel to have an experience. And then we live in a world that doesn't believe in any of that, right? We're in these times that are so highly materialistic, and it's all about what we have in the external. And it's there's this huge black and white area of well, if you want to be that full spiritualist, right, you have to give up everything, renounce all your riches and all your possessions and go and meditate in a cave. And it's like, okay, that's one path. But we can peel away the layers. We can detach ourselves from the materialistic viewpoint of the world without having to isolate ourselves, right? The modern way of doing this is to do it inside of your life. It reminds me of my yoga teacher, right? And the teaching through yoga that says yoga happens when you step off the mat. That's the true yoga, right? We go into the studio, we practice, we breathe, we move through the positions, we learn to stand in the fire. But the true yoga happens when practice is over and we step off the mat into the world, because this is where we really begin to practice, right? What we learn in the studio. And this is life. This is the self-exploration journey. This is the mental health journey. One of the lenses we can look at mental health through is, right, because anxiety and depression are a part of the mental health picture. And depression is focusing on the past and energy stagnation, right? This is when we have energy, life force that wants to move through us, and yet it is stagnated. And it's building, and its stagnation feels like we're stuck in mud. And then when we look at the other side of it, the anxiety, this is the lens of when we are in fear of the future. And energetically, this is when our nervous system is overstimulated and overactivated from the trauma, right? We are afraid of what the future will bring because our past dictated that we were not safe. So how could we possibly believe that the future would be safe? How can we ground in and lean into the knowing that we're supported when that's not what our experience was of life, right? Especially in those early days. And something that we talk a lot about here, right? The collective conscious. The thoughts that we share with almost 9 billion other people. If we do not have practices that help us discern what is ours versus what is outside noise, we're toast. We're cooked, as my kids say, right? We're cooked. So it's in gaining these tools. It's in learning to trust the internal world and sifting through the things that we get stuck in really prioritizing our mental health and our physical health, right? I'm going to do another episode on how prioritizing your self-care of the body and being embodied is also non-negotiable. But it starts with our mental health and our willingness to eat healthy food, organic, life-full food, right? Not processed, sugar-filled, carb-loaded, dye-filled. That stuff just cuts you off at the knees. It starts with getting sleep. It starts with nourishing our bodies through movement and love and nourishment. It's keeping away from the news that is intended to dramatize and sensationalize and activate our nervous systems. It's choosing our friends and the people that we spend time with that are in alignment with who you are and the way that you want to live your life, right? Getting out of those toxic relationships. Do not hang out with people that gaslight you. Do not hang out with people that gossip. These are not the type of relationships that are going to get you where you want to go. They are not going to help you prioritize your mental health. Being in safe, secure, nurturing environments with people that have your best interest at heart, with people that want to see you thrive and grow and change, getting yourselves into groups and communities that support togetherness, support you, right? That are here to help you unpack what the heck is spinning around in our heads, because we are at a pinnacle in our current societies, and the thoughts are overwhelming. They are constantly firing, and we have to find the tools to help that, to quiet the noise, right? How do we really get out of our heads into our hearts and our bodies And I know this is what we want, but where are the tools to do it, right? What are you doing? How are you prioritizing that in your life? Because when you start to prioritize that, other things will fall into line, right? And it's time to stop making excuses. Your excuses are literally just things and thoughts that you're tolerating. Your choice, your decision, your discernment are precision tools to get you where you want. And learning to hone those, learning to develop them, learning to live in alignment with them will change the very core of your being. And this is what we're here to do. This is the true spiritual journey, right? Yes, it's connecting with all the incredibleness of the cosmos and the earth and the beings and understanding our soul. And ultimately, that journey lives inside you. It is not an outside job. It is an inside job through and through and through. It is your love and your devotion that will change your world. So, this is what we're doing in the journey, right? You've heard me talking a lot about it. We are gathering. There are incredible women dropping in there to learn and grow together, to develop these tools, to develop themselves, to deepen their capacity to hold not only themselves, but everything that is happening in our environment, right? How are we cultivating what is necessary to make these times count, to make them matter? There's a link in the show notes. Come be with us in the journey. We're waiting for you.